Hi, I'm Jim Shaw, publisher of Lexington's Colonial Times Magazine, and a board member here at LexMedia. And we're here today for our segment of Coffee with the Candidates. We're here with Judy Crocker, who is a candidate for re-election to the Lexington School Committee. And I just wanted to run down some of the things that people should know about you, by way of introduction. I know a lot of folks in town already know who you are. You're not a stranger by any stretch of the imagination.
Thank you, Jim.
I know that, when our kids were in Harrington together, you were working on safe routes to schools, and it's been an important part of what you've been doing, not only as a school committee member, but as a citizen in Lexington. So you're finishing your first term on the school committee now.
Yes.
You're the coordinator for Safe Routes to School, and you've been involved with that for 12 years. Right? Yes. And tell me a little bit about it, because the Safe Routes to School has become a real kind of a hallmark program in town. I know you've gotten 6 grants, you've received 4 awards, 1 national. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's really a collaborative program, and I can't say enough about the Sidewalk Committee, who is really, Safe Routes to School is a subcommittee of the Sidewalk Committee. And in my experience, both as a volunteer in Lexington and even in the business world, it's been one of the most productive and gratifying committees I've been on, because all the stakeholders are in the room every month. And so you don't have to go chase people, and it's very easy. We've gotten so much work done just having the conversation on a monthly basis.
Right.
So much so that we actually, except for pedestrian advocacy and finding a sustainable home for Safe Routes to School, the selectmen and working with the town manager have put in a freeze on the committee because we've met our charge.
Right.
So Safe Routes to School is a pedestrian and biking and mass transit advocacy program that works with the schools, working with the town, DPW, engineering, police, and it just promotes safe and sustainable ways for our children to arrive and depart from school.
Now you've gotten 4 awards. Tell me about that. A national award too.
We have been very blessed. So there's many people on the Safe Routes subcommittee, if you would. We have representatives right now at 8 out of our 9 schools, which is outstanding. This fluctuation every year, because every year you have a different set of volunteers, because we are all volunteers. We've received 3 awards from the state, 1 from the EPA, 1 for creativeness and innovation, and 1 for leadership. And this past year, I can't believe it's already 2017, but this past year, the Department of Transportation for the state of Massachusetts nominated 1 person for the first annual national award. And I was lucky me.
Good. Well, good for you.
So my
just
kids
recognizes the leadership and the not so much the nature, but the importance of the program.
Exactly. So my kids have been teasing me, calling me Miss Massachusetts. So
well, good.
That's
funny. Great. But speaking of kids, 3 kids, all of them have gone through the public schools.
Yes.
So you were basically up close and personal, and you weren't. This wasn't a spectator situation for you. You were always involved.
Well put. So my children all went to community nursery school, and we chose that because it's a cooperative program. Volunteer effort is big in my house and in my family.
Yeah.
We went to Harrington, Diamond, in the high school. Some people might find that unusual, Harrington to Diamond. But at the time, we had school choice, and we were able to, we lived a little closer to Diamond, and also Diamond had project-based learning, which very happy to say that Dr. Sikowski, our superintendent, is investigating to bring back. So I find this very exciting. So my kids did that, and they went to the high school. Okay. And I spent a lot of time volunteering more on what my children were into, whether it be PTA-based work or debate or music or sports. But past that, I dabbled into the Sidewalk Committee, and then that went to the Ad Hoc Transportation and Safety Study Committee and town meeting. And
sometimes people don't understand that transportation is an important component to the whole educational process. And particularly the safety of it too. I mean, this is not some throwaway issue. This is central.
Exactly. We like to say that the school day starts at the bus stop.
Right.
And at the time, we had it was really labeled a public safety issue. We had so many cars around all the schools because the bus fee had gone up. It had doubled. We had the second highest in the state of $600. So Safe Routes to School had a citizens article we brought to town meeting, and surprise, town meeting almost unanimously passed it, and we had a 1-year pilot, and we brought the price down to $300. So in the last 5 years, we have actually increased bus ridership by 60%.
Really?
So huge
Wow.
numbers. We've gone from 18 buses to 35, and we've partnered with LexPress. So now we have a late bus for the middle and high school students where we didn't have one before. And actually the high school and middle school ridership constitutes about half of the LexPress ridership. So it's been a win-win for both sides.
Right.
And then at the elementary level, we have a different form of late bus, if you would. It's an after-school, right-after program, we call it. And so it used to be that C&W bus, the local vendor, would help transport children to Hayden.
Right.
But now that's been expanded to other after-school programs. And
That's great.
for a nominal fee. It's been more than successful.
Well, it kind of leads me to my next thing, which, and you've kind of touched on it already in terms of, when, after completing 3 years, it's a major commitment, you've decided to seek another term. And so the obvious question is, why? Why do you want to serve on the board again? Obviously, you've accomplished a lot. There's still a lot to do, I assume?
Exactly, Jim. So basically, it's been a very challenging year. These last 3 years, we've had a lot of unprecedented challenges in the school system, and I really feel that, I believe strongly actually, that I've met these demands successfully, and I'd like to continue to use the experience I've gained through my town volunteerism and work experience and the leadership opportunities that I've had to continue to make efficient and cost-effective and sustainable solutions. Some of those things that I've started, looking at later high school start times.
Yeah.
Collaboration is key, which
Right.
is what we started with Safe Routes to School and the Sidewalk Committee, and it's moving through, and this is why I truly think that...
Can you tell us a little bit more about the later start times? I mean,
Okay.
we've talked a little bit about it, but I know that you're probably more in tune with what exactly is involved with the later start times. So, and does it mean
Great question.
do they go home later? I mean, how does that work?
So there are different layers to this, but scientific research has been saying for quite a while that adolescents need more sleep, and their circadian rhythm is different from, say, a middle schooler or an adult. So they actually kick in a little bit later in the day than most of us. So having the school day start at a later time for high school, and having perhaps the elementary kids flip places, if you would, start earlier. They say that they have the medical and behavioral and neurological benefits are documented. So doing this, though, it's layered because it is a cultural change.
Right.
And it's also logistically, it's issues you have to deal with. So we have a tiered bus system, so transportation is an angle for this. Sports have to come into play. So I'm lucky to serve as the secretary for our division of 50 towns for the Massachusetts Association for School Committee Members. So last spring we actually had a panel discussion where we invited all 50 towns to come, and we had a really open discussion. We had a town has successfully implemented later start times, one who it did not successfully pass it, and one who was in the middle of it, along with a pediatric researcher from Children's who came and explained the science behind it all.
Is there anecdotal evidence as to why one succeeded and the other one didn't? Communication.
Okay. It was truly about communication, which is something I've always been advocating for. Transparency and communication for me go hand in hand. The more that the public understands the process, I think the better things go. And this is how I think any policy should go. So basically what we're doing right now for later start times is that we put it on the school committee's goals for this year. The superintendent also put it on her goals. Thank you. And she is creating a task force, and we are going to be working collaboratively together to bring this forward. So the neighboring towns, we've already met with MIAA, the sports organization. So there's different layers about doing this.
Right, because consistently, a lot of the after-school sports start at a certain time, and you'd have to be out of school by a certain time in order, and that's the what is it, the
Massachusetts
Interscholastic
Interscholastic Athletic Association, the
yeah.
MIAA.
So it's all
yes.
pretty standardized, so that would be, again, one of those logistical situations you have to deal with.
Exactly. So towns such as Bedford or Reading or Duxbury or Sharon, they've already made this change, but it would be easier if we did it en masse,
Right.
because then everyone is on the same schedule.
Right.
So that's...
But the challenge is you can only do it for Lexington. You can't do it for the other communities. It'd be nice if it was done at the state level and everybody was on the same page, but that's a challenge.
But similarly to that, if we do it on a regional level, which is what we're trying to do through the Mass Association of School Committees, it moves forward a little faster.
Sure.
But there are implications, and that's why I applaud Dr. Sikowski for creating a task force, because there's you have to look at the big picture.
Yeah. Now, you touched on, you mentioned the word collaboration.
Yes.
It's so important to work collaboratively with the administration, the faculty, the teachers, the board, all coming together, trying to get on the same page. Are you achieving that?
Yes. I think the best example is the Lexington Youth Coalition. There's many initiatives that have been presented by the coalition that didn't get off the ground earlier. For example, right now on discussions is having a Lexington Unplugged Day. We actually had one about 8 or 9 years ago, but it wasn't sustainable because not everyone came to the table and endorsed it.
Right.
So the more stakeholders we have taking part, the more successful things can be.
We've got about 5 minutes left. Okay. As time flies, these interviews go fast, and there's so much to say, and I wish we had more time. Let's talk a little bit about curriculum, capital improvements. For instance, we're talking of this talk about with overcrowding, the need to possibly go to a 7th elementary school, prioritizing capital programs at Mariah Hastings and the high school. So, and I know that they kind of go hand in hand. When you're talking about overcrowding, you need to find more space.
Yes.
So, and again, for the first time, the school budget, I understand, has gone over $100 million.
We hit that glass ceiling, yes.
Yes. So I guess, it's kind of a lot to just throw at you, but let's see if we can go through it point by point. So we're talking about prioritizing capital improvements in the schools. Where do we go with that? I mean, I know the high school needs to be addressed, elementary level needs to be addressed. So take us down that avenue.
All right. So when we need to create and sustain suitable learning environments, that's a long-term investment for every child and for every taxpayer. So looking at that, you're balancing academic excellence, which right now Lexington is rated 15th in the country. So that's a huge reputation, which has helped our home values. It's helped a lot of things around town, but it's also the value of the town.
Right.
So that has to be balanced, though, with our capital needs. We still need to have the classroom space with the proper environment in order to teach those children.
Right.
But in the middle of all that, you have to be fiscally responsible,
right.
Fiscally prudent. So the way the school committee has worked collaboratively with the superintendent, the town manager, the board of selectmen, and so many other committees who have been so beneficial, permanent building, finance committees on down, is that we have proposed Hastings. So Hastings is building past its lifespan, and we are working with the state for partial financing, and we also want to take advantage of a current low interest rates.
Right.
So that's a win-win. Next, we're adding the additions and renovations between the middle schools and the elementary schools, and that really meets the demands that we need right now.
Right.
At the preschool level, because this is a four-pronged problem.
Right.
So overcrowding is at preschool, elementary, middle school, and high school level. So we're really getting hit with it all at once. It's not, it's concentrated in one particular age bracket. So at the preschool, very, very fortunate with the Pelham property. So the school committee has long advocated that we have a shared use for that building. It's centrally located in town. It's abutting to the community center. It's prime real estate for the town to own. And so we are suggesting that the preschool be there, which it's a mandated program. So it's not
So it'd be one central location for
one
preschool?
central location. The difference with preschool is that you can't expand, you can't put more in a classroom.
Right.
Everything is very much regulated. So when you're full, and that out-of-district cost is not inexpensive.
Right.
So we're looking to do a shared use, having the gym and the 160-seat dining area be used by the community center, and then hopefully from that have an intergenerational program with the senior center.
Okay.
And then lastly, it's the high school. The high school is, again, past its point of capacity. Even though we've added 12 modulars recently, it's still not quite enough. So
Right.
that we're looking to go for state funding as soon as 2 years from now, 2019, and move forward from that. The problems with that are going to be many. There's going to be many curriculum changes until we have the new space because of our 2,200 kids right now at the high school. Added over 100 this year alone. So it's
Wow.
it's a mini city, if you would. So we have to approach that.
Well, that because we're going to run out of time soon. But I wanted to touch about with high school. It was announced last night that Laura Lassa is going to retire. So we've got four major positions that are going to be needed, that will need to be filled. Human resources.
Yes.
The principal.
Fine arts.
Fine arts.
Yes.
Jeffrey Leonard.
Yes.
Yes.
And facilities.
And facilities.
Yes.
So obviously a major focus, and that the residual effect of finding the right people, I'm sure, impacts.
Exactly.
So obviously there'll be a concerted effort.
Yes. Leadership change, and it's important. There's a lot of institutional memory in all those positions that we try to codify as much of that information as possible, which is what we did with policy way back when, 2 years ago. So it's hard to believe.
So it's little by little, you just kind of get these things done, you check them off the list. And
exactly. But just to swing back, you mentioned a 7th elementary school. So the school committee is looking to put the preschool at Pelham, and then that would free up the space at the Harrington campus where central administration is right now. So fire will go to fire, police will go to police, and then central administration is basically just office space. So that would, if
would
we
central
ever...
administration consider going somewhere else and free up the old campus?
Yes, but it's not a priority. The students are the priority.
Right, okay.
Office space is office space.
Yeah.
So basically, if we are able at some point, and again, the old Harrington building is it's reaching at the end of its lifespan. So if we ever need...
And I'm 56.
Double alum, your family is.
Absolutely.
So if we ever did need space for an additional school, that we would have the real estate right there.
It makes so much sense.
Exactly. And also, not necessarily, people say a 7th elementary school. One, we have to look at the finances of the town.
Right.
At this point in time, we cannot afford it.
Right.
We'll have to look down the road. The high school is going to be a big...
But everything's on the table.
Everything's on the table. But a 7th elementary school, say, might just be 5th grade.
Right.
Would be a smaller, more concentrated program, and that would also help the other 6 elementary buildings. So there's different ways you can cut it, but quite honestly, I think it's premature to speak about that, even though we know enrollment is growing.
Sure.
Because
but it's important to be aware. You can't put your
aware.
head in the sand over this, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Well, we need to wind down. I'm going to ask you, although we've known each other a long time, I'm a Lexington voter. I vote in every election.
Thank you.
Tell me why do I vote for Judy Crocker?
I think what I bring to the table has been tested experience and a lot of experience and tested leadership. And between the two, I've met a lot of the demands that the school committee has encountered the last few years. I've had the leadership opportunities. My colleagues have voted me either co-chair or chair of really major positions, the ad hoc school master planning committee, policy, and finance. And any school committee member truly has 3 responsibilities: policy, budget, and the superintendent. And I have to say it's been an opportunity and an honor to go through the selection process, and we collaboratively and unanimously endorsed Dr. Sikowski. So
she's been amazing, I think.
She has.
She's been so good for our
She
town.
has not disappointed. She has been exactly what the community is looking for in terms of leadership, style, and just collaborative spirit. So not to say that previous superintendents haven't done the same, but
we're looking forward.
Well, exactly. It was just the community, after a lot of polling, wanted a change, and we found that change.
Great. So how do people find you? They want to learn more about Judy Crocker. You have a website?
www.judycrockerforlexington.com.
Is that a 4 or FOR?
FOR.
FOR.
I'm into English, yes.
Good, very good. Well, I wish you the very best. I'm glad you
you.
had a chance to come and sit with us.
Thank you.
And, you know, March 6th comes by quickly.
Comes
so.
by very quickly. I can't
Yeah.
believe it was just 3 years ago we were doing the same
I know.
interview process. So I'd like to say thank you to the Colonial Times and LexMedia.
Well, thank you.
for
Yeah, no,
hosting this
we're
community service.
we're happy to do it. You know, we feel it's an important part of what we do here. So, anyway, thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.